And we're joined now by the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor in the state of New York, Sheriff Chris Moss. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You are best known, of course, for objections that you've been quite vocal about to the New York SAFE Act. Okay. What is it about that gun control law that you find so problematic for the state of New York?
I think it really affected more law-abiding citizens than it ever will criminals. Proper gun legislation should really be aimed, if we're looking at trying to stop a tragedy and we're going to enact gun legislation, let's target it towards where the problem is. It's keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, keeping weapons out of people who need mental health help, assistance. So basically, I mean, the SAFE Act is targeted at the wrong group of people, and that's my biggest complaint about it.
Law enforcement officials across the country, for the most part, have been seemingly overwhelmingly calling for some form of gun control, at least trying to balance the scales a little bit and put some of the advantage back in the hands of law enforcement who find themselves outgunned from time to time. What is it specifically about the SAFE Act that doesn't do that, and why not do anything possible to at least reduce the number of guns for fear that they might slip into the hands of criminals?
I haven't seen any statistical information that indicates that the SAFE Act has made New York any safer. I mean, I have seen some statistics that basically say that, yeah, crimes that you committed that may have been an E felony are now a D felony and so forth, but for new arrest attributed to the SAFE Act, I'm not aware of them. And again, when you create legislation to keep guns off the streets, wouldn't you want to gear that legislation towards maybe tougher penalties for people who are caught with guns? If you or I have a gun at home and somebody burglarizes our house and somebody takes the gun, they're going to get the weapon anyway. But I don't think the SAFE Act is keeping people from accessing guns. Law-abiding citizens can get guns if they go through the process and are approved for it and issued a pistol permit.
Are there any parts of the SAFE Act that you do agree with when it comes to, you know, let's say background checks or reducing the number of bullets that would be in a magazine?
I think number one, there's some provisions in there for mental health, to check background checks for mental health. Two, I think we increased some penalties for emergency service workers that are if somebody injures them with a weapon. So yeah, there are a couple of provisions in there that are okay. But I think when we went ahead and took what defines a weapon, it really made a lot of law-abiding citizens. What defines a weapon is an assault weapon. We really took a lot of law-abiding citizens and made them criminals if, you know, they refuse to or don't end up registering their weapons.
If you and Rob Astorino are elected this fall, odds are the state assembly will stay in Democratic control. They would be reticent to repeal the SAFE Act as you called for in your address tonight. Would you be willing to work with them and work with Democrats using the SAFE Act as a foundation then to go ahead and build, if you want, let's say, more provisions on mental health, use that as the foundation and then seek out greater benefits and greater focus on mental health, that sort of thing?
I mean, we're willing to work with anybody. And sure, you have to have a starting point somewhere. There are a couple of good points to the SAFE Act, but the majority of the SAFE Act really hurt law-abiding citizens.
Okay, let me switch gears if I can. You're a sheriff,
yes.
A county sheriff right now. Have you had any executive experience before? And, you know, we've seen in recent history that there has been a need for a lieutenant governor to step in and become governor. Are you ready to become governor of New York State?
Certainly. Let me tell you, there's an individual's success is based on how you surround yourself. If you surround yourself by qualified individuals, you're going to be successful, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the public arena. As sheriff, I make executive decisions on a regular basis. I'm in my 9th year as sheriff. I've been in county government with the sheriff's office for over 25 years, so I think I am qualified, yes.
And I'm just curious, are there any areas of disagreement that you have with Rob Astorino when it comes to either fiscal or social policy in the state? Or would you, if thrust into the role of governor, simply try to follow through on the policies that Rob Astorino has been advocating for?
I've had the opportunity to speak with the county executive at length before I accepted the position to make sure that our positions were in alignment, and I'm very pleased that our positions are pretty much in alignment on all topics.
And then finally, you are a history-making selection for the state Republican Party, first African-American nominee for statewide office from the Republican Party. What does that mean to you? Or in 2014, do you feel like we're past the sort of landmark nature of that kind of selection?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really doesn't mean anything. Get somebody who's qualified and capable of doing the job. It doesn't matter whether they're young, old, black, white, male, female. If you have the proper qualifications, then you hope people will support you and elect you.
Thanks very much for the time. Best of luck this fall.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the latest from here at the convention. Rich, let's send it back to you in the studio.